Right, good afternoon. So, in the last class, in fact, in the yesterday's class, we had a small introduction for the first unit because I took some time to explain the background of ICT grade 10 and 11. So that's why we were able to cover only a few things in first unit. So we started off with the words data and information. So I defined both data and information briefly. So remember, the definition is not a complete definition. So we have to modify that. I already told you on the other day, so it must be modified. So, understanding the term data and information is too easy. There is no issue at all. Even the students, some of you can easily, memorize. But the fact is, you should understand these two terms, which means data and information, with the help of examples. So try understanding such definitions and words with the help of example. This is very important for not only for these two words. In most of the ICT areas, or in most of the definitions in ICT, need some examples. So if you are able to understand those examples, definitely those definition will be stick in your mind, right? I don't know about your other subjects, but particularly for ICT, try following such things as a habit, right? Drag some examples, and with the help of examples, you can understand those definitions and other stuff. Okay, right. So let's take a quick recap on what we had on the other day. So we defined the term data and information yesterday. I defined that data are raw materials, which means they are unprocessed things, and they can be related to anything. Data can be anything. Not, I use the word anything. You know that word anything is not an appropriate word to be written in exam. But I use that for demonstration purpose only. But today, definitely I have to, clarify, or I have to elaborate that word anything, right? So then only you can have a complete definition, right? Okay, so unprocessed materials are called data, but when data are processed, they become as information. This is the one which we took earlier, right? Okay. And also we took an example for both data and information yesterday. I took a very simple example, making a cake, right? So whenever we want a cake, we need inputs or ingredients. So those ingredients are not processed. They are raw materials. So they are data. But when these data are involved in a meaningful process like baking or mixing or whatever you do, right? So all these things are process. So when these raw materials are involved in a process, definitely they take a new shape, or they take a new dimension. So in my case, it is cake, right? So that cake is called information because it is obtained after process. So we simply define that data is prior to process, information is after process, right? Okay. So today also I'm going to take some examples to clarify these two terms, data and information, right? The whole class will be, spent for taking some examples and explaining. Maybe in the next class we can take some other stuff related to data and information, right? Maybe 3 classes will be conducted for teaching those data and information, right? Because I am taking time because I feel that they are important, and also you should understand these basics, right? If you understand them, then understanding the remaining things in the unit is not hard. Okay, right. So let's take a small example, but listen, try responding, right? When a question is asked, I can point some persons and ask, right? But I don't want, because since I don't have any introduction to you, it's slightly tough, right? So be responding, right? When a question is asked, try give a feedback. Then only we can, discuss, and because if I go in one direction, right? So if you are able to listen to me all the time, that is useless. So try giving some feedback. You may have questions, you may have doubts. At least, even though you don't ask questions, so doubts, at least try responding to my questions. Then only you can get ideas, right? So here I will write something on the board now. So let's see whether that is a data or information, right? So it's a very simple idea. Look here. So assume I have 6 students or 5 students in a classroom. So I need their height, right? Heights. So let me write their names as one column, right? Student's name or name of students and their height. So it is written in centimeters. Okay. So you have students' names and also their heights. So let's name them as A, B, C, D, E. Enough, right? I have only 5 students. Okay, let's write their height. So he is 140 centimeter. This is 130 centimeter. He also 140. This is 150. He is 135. Right? Look closely, right? You have students, in fact 5 students, and their heights are written, right? Okay. Now my question is it data or information? What is it? The table that you are watching on your screen, you are looking on your screen, is what? Is it data or information? Try responding. Is it data or information?
Data.
Data. Others?
Data.
Data.
Okay, if it is data, can you justify your answer? Very simple justification is enough, right? I can modify and explain the other things. Why do you think that it is a data? Give me a small idea, right? You don't need to, talk so much, right? Just give an idea. Why it is data? What's the reason?
It is only with the data and it is only with letters and number.
Letters and numbers. Okay, right. Wait. I tell you.
Unprocessed. They are.
Sorry, huh?
They are unprocessed.
Unprocessed things. Okay, let's see whether your thoughts are correct or wrong. Right. Listen, I tell you something. Right. Look, when you are asked to identify a data or information, right? When someone asks you to identify data or information, you need to analyze some things, right? Not one or two, maybe some points to be noted. The first one, definitely you have to check whether they are processed or not, right? Because processed things are informations, unprocessed things are data. So now, in my case also, you have been asked to identify this table. So first of all, you have to check that whether this table is processed or not, right? If it is not processed, it is a data. If it is processed, it is an information. That is one. But sometimes this is not enough to identify or differentiate whether it is data or information, right? Sometimes what I'm trying to say is you need some other things to get a conclusion whether that is a data or information, right? Let me tell you one more thing. If it is data or information, you must check whether that has meaning or not. If something has meaning, definitely it is information. If that doesn't have meaning, that must be data. So we always see information as meaningful product, but data are always taken as meaningless products or meaningless things. This is also very important thing when it comes to data and information, right? Okay, let's take those examples which we discussed on the other day. One example, right? Take a look at that example, cake. You know, having wheat flour, margarine, sugar, eggs, right? So having them as their own shape or own, I mean, existence, you know, do not make or doesn't make any sense. You cannot, I mean, you cannot use the wheat flour directly. You cannot use the margarine directly. You cannot eat them, right? So, but when they are engaged in a meaningful process like baking or mixing, you know, information is produced. That information becomes meaningful because you can use that for a party, or maybe you can eat that. So that is meaningful. But none of us likes to eat such things directly. They are raw materials. So that's the point which I made earlier, right? They are meaningless, right? They cannot be used directly. So you have to use them in a meaningful process. Then only they become meaningful. So this is important. Data are meaningless, but information is meaningful. Keep these 2 points in your mind whenever you need to differentiate or identify data or information. Try focusing on these 2 points. What are the 2 points to be noted? You should check whether they are processed or not. If they are processed, information. If they are not processed, definitely data. The other point to be noted is meaningful or meaningless. If it is meaningful, it is information. If it is meaningless, it is data. Right, now come to the example. Right, now listen to me very carefully, right? This is something little, complex, right? I have to clarify. So yes, your thought is correct. Your idea is correct. This is data, right? This is data. But we need to understand something, right? So let me explain. So here, if this table is meaningful, if you think that the table is meaningful, definitely it is an information, right? Because seconds ago I told you that information is meaningful, data meaningless. So my justification or my argument is, if this table is meaningful, definitely it is information. If it is meaningless, okay, data, right? So now I have a doubt, or you may have the doubt, how to identify or how to check whether it is meaningful or meaningless, because it's a table, it has something. So now I have to decide whether it is a meaningful thing or meaningless. So how to check or how to decide such thing, how to identify meaningful and meaningless? Let me tell you. Suppose if you are able to identify the tallest student in this table or tallest student in this class, definitely it is a meaningful, because you know, having such sentence, C is tallest student in the class, such sentence, definitely it is a meaningful sentence. Even if you are able to find the shortest student in the class, definitely it is a meaningful sentence. So if you are able to extract such information, such sentences, definitely it is meaningful. So if it is meaningful, definitely it is information. My question is, can you obtain such sentences? Can you find the tallest student in this table? Can you find the tallest one? Can you find the tallest student in this class?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if you are able to find the tallest student from this table, so then definitely it is a meaningful statement, right? So if it is meaningful statement, definitely it is an information, right? So then how can you say that it is data? So tell me, who is the tallest student in this class?
D.
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 D, right? So, okay, you just mentioned that D is the tallest student. So since you are able to find that particular sentence, D is the tallest student, definitely it is a meaningful one. So if it is meaningful, definitely it is an information. Okay, so it is slightly, confusing, right? Okay, I will clarify. Right, so, okay, still it is data, right? It is not information, but we have some kind of confusions, right? Now, look, so imagine you have 100 students in this table. So I have shown only 5 students because I cannot write the remaining students. So I have 100 students in the classroom. So I have written all these 100 names one by one, and their heights also there. On one side, the names of those 100 students are there. On the other side, the heights are displayed. Okay, the similar table, but this is expanded, right? Okay, now I'm asking the same question, right? I'm asking the same question. Tallest student in the class, right? So now, if it is tallest, listen to me carefully, right? If it is tallest student in the classroom, definitely you need some time to tell that answer. But now, minutes ago, you suddenly, you immediately responded with the name D150. D is the tallest student. You gave that answer within no time. But now I'm asking the same question. I asked you to find the tallest student. Remember, you have 100 students, right? So now you definitely need some time to tell that particular person. Why? What's the reason? Why do you need more time? Have you understood my idea? Now you have 100 students, their names also there. I'm asking you to find the tallest student, right? You don't know who is it because we don't have the names, right? But assume you have 100 names and 100 heights. You have to find out the tallest one. So my argument is definitely you need some time to give that particular answer. What is the reason? Why do you need more time?
Because the data are more than
Yes.
this table.
Yes, you have more data. So when you have more data, you need to, right, you need to find that particular person. You cannot find the particular person directly. What you have to do is you have to arrange all these heights, right? Maybe in ascending order or maybe descending order, and then only you can find the particular person, like X is the tallest or Y is the tallest. Have you understood? Even that particular ascending order or descending order can be done in your mind. You don't need to write everything and find it. You have to compare each and every person to find it. But since you have 100 students, definitely you need more time to comparing and arranging. After spending minutes, you can say that X is the tallest. Even here also you face the similar incident, right? But here the problem is, or the thing is, you don't have big names or you don't have many names. So when you have 5 names, right, you don't spend much time, right? You just, have a look at all these heights, and immediately in your mind you arrange them, right? You didn't realize that, or even you realize that. So you arranged all the heights in your mind. In fact, you arrange them in descending or ascending order. After that particular arrangement or after that particular comparison, you just mention that D is the tallest. So even in this case also, you did some sort of arrangement in your mind. But that arrangement was done very quickly because you have only 5 students. But in my second example, you have 100 students. So you need to find the tallest. So definitely you need such comparison or arrangements or sorting. But that sorting, that arrangement needs more time because there is a lot of data. So tell me, what is that particular arrangement that you did in your mind? How to call that? You did some sort of arrangement, or wait, you did some sort of arrangement, or you did some sort of comparison in your mind. Then only you can obtain such sentences like X is the tallest, or even D is the tallest. So what is it? what about that? I mean, comparison or sorting in your mind. How to call that?
Processing.
Yes, that is process. So what I'm trying to say is, without that process, right? Without that process that you did in your mind, you cannot say that D is the tallest. Right? By using this table only, right? You can't say that D is the tallest. What you did was, you observe this one, immediately you did some processes in your mind, and then you gave such sentence, D is the tallest. So remember, this is this table is data, because this is meaningless, this is unprocessed. Right? I hope that you understood that idea, right? Okay, now this is data. So let's process this in a meaningful way, right? I'm going to process this one in a meaningful way to get some information, right? Meaningful information, right? Okay, look here. So this is data, right? So let's arrange these heights in descending order from tallest to shortest, right? So I am rewriting this table, right? Rewriting this table, this is process. Look. So now look here, 150 is the, I mean highest number. So it must be on the top, right? So I'm writing the table again. This is 150. So who is it? It is D. So D 150. Then, you know, there are two students in 140. So 140, A also 140, and also C also 140. Then E is there with 135 centimeter. Okay. Finally, you have 130, which is who is it? B, right? Okay. So this table is data. Now we did some sort of arrangement, right? We arranged them in descending order. This can be taken as process. As a result of the process, now it is possible to obtain some meaningful information. Let me give some meaningful information. See, D is the tallest student in the classroom. This is of course meaningful, so it should be information. Even I can say that student B is the shortest student in the classroom. This is another meaningful sentence, meaningful statement. So another information. Not only these two, we can obtain plenty, right? Look here. Students A and C are in equal heights because both have 140, right? So they are in equal height. Even I can say that student C is taller than student E, right? Student C is taller than student E. So such meaningful statements can be obtained if the table is processed, right? So these statements are called information, right? D is tallest, B is shortest, A and C are equal height. These are informations. Have you understood? So in our yesterday's example, we used a food item or food items for handling data and information. So in that case, data as well as information belong to food items. But here, have a look at this example here, data exist in numbers. So now you should understand, as a student, you should understand that data is not, restricted into a food item or number. It is, that's the reason why I use the word anything. Data are unprocessed materials about anything. So which means it can be a food item, it can be a number. I can tell you some other things. Today I will define that word data perfectly. So there may be, the data may be images, the data may be videos, the data may be sound, even the data may be symbols. So data is not restricted into a small circle, it beyond that, right? It can be anything. Okay, so hope you all understood this one. This is my second example. Hope this can give you some idea, right? So, okay, right. So let's take a third example. After that, I will define the term data and information again, right? So I need one more example. Right, look, see, there is a small business there is a man who runs a small business, writes his daily income and daily expenditures in a notebook or something, right? He maintains a notebook on which he writes the daily income as well as daily expenditures like this. Right, incomes are written and also expenditures. So this shop owner keeps these things, right? So every day he allocates a space for these things, right? He maintains a page and writes the incomes as well as expenditures. Tell me, what is it? Is it data or information? Now you have experiences, right? Used to experience. So is it data or information?
Data.
Data.
Why? Or tell me how can this man make this or convert this as information? So if it is data, if you think that it is data, suggest a method or suggest a way to convert this data into information. Anybody? You can, because these are very, I mean, day-to-day life things, right? So you can understand them. Tell me.
With this, he would find the profit.
So it's a data, right? It's a data. So tell me, how can he find the profit, calculate the profit?
By using this data, he can able to find the profit.
Okay, tell me how to find the profit. Tell me the method, how to find the profit.
By adding the incomes.
Yes, right. Right. Okay, you are spot on, right? So this is actually a data. This is useless. If that particular shop owner keeps such things forever, it doesn't make any sense. He cannot get any benefit from this one. So maybe at the end of the day, right, at the end of the day, that person definitely adds all the incomes, right? He has to add all the incomes to find the total income, right? There should be a total income. And also he has to add all the expenditures, total expenditure. He has to find the total expenditure. So if total income is larger than the total expenditure, right? If the total income is larger than the total expenditure, you know, it is profit, right? So if he find the profit, assume the profit is 10,000 or something. Now he finds 10,000 after adding all the incomes and all the expenditures, and then he subtract this one, right? Total expenditure from total income, and he has 10,000 profit now. You know, this statement, profit 10,000, is meaningful information. This is information, right? But to get such information, this table or these things had to be processed, right? So the one which I have shown you earlier, actually a data, having expenditures and incomes alone should be a data. But when all the incomes and all the expenditures are added, you know, you can find the profit, right? So that must be the profit 10,000 should be a meaningful information. Okay, so try understanding. Whenever you have example, you can improve your knowledge, right? So definitely this man has to find the profit. Right, now my question, I have a question, right? Listen, see, nobody wants to have data forever, right? We don't want to keep the data in the existing format forever. We often convert the data to information, right? Often the data converted to information. Have you got my point? What's the reason? Why? Why the data are often converted to information? What is the reason? Nobody wants to have the data as they are. We convert them, right? We convert them all the time. So see, have a look at these three examples, right? We use the cake example, even the height. Now this expenditures and income. Can anyone tell me what is the reason for changing the data to information, converting the data to information? Why?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, getting benefit using this data.
Getting benefits. Okay. Others? I can give a conclusion
To
later,
get
right? So,
outcome.
huh?
To get the outcomes.
To get outcomes, right? Next. Any others?
Easy to understand.
Easy to understand. Others? Think, right? So see, if a question like this asked to you, try thinking those examples you have come across, right? So now see, I have taken three examples. Cake. So now you ask yourself, why don't we have or keep the cake, sorry, keep those raw materials like wheat flour, margarine or sugar as they are? We often, mix them and take the cake. Why? What is the reason? You don't like to have them as they are. Even in this case, this person doesn't like to have the incomes and expenditures as raw materials. He often adds them and find the income. So what is the reason? It's very simple, right? What's the reason? Listen, when there is a need arises, that's the one you point like benefit. Okay, benefit is okay, but when there is a need occurs or need arises, data are converted to information. Because remember this point, data cannot be used for fulfilling these needs. For an example, think about that first example, cake. So you cannot use margarine or wheat flour or sugar or whatever in a party or for your meals directly. You cannot use the raw materials. So when there is a need arises, like a birthday party or maybe even for having them as your meal, so that is the need. Now you convert these margarines, whatever, right, wheat flour, right, sugar into cake. In the second example, see, we have heights and names. But we convert that into information. We arrange the heights because we have a need. Assume that school administration wants to find the tallest. They want to find the heights, right? Because sometimes, for some sports, they select the people according to height. So your school administration wants to pick students for a basketball team or something. So this is the need. So when this need arises, students' heights have to be arranged. So data are converted. In this case, this person has a need. What is it? He has to find the profit. He has to check whether he earns profit or whether he lost, right? So that is the need or purpose. For that need or for that purpose, he converted this data to information. So don't forget that the data are often converted to information because there are needs arises, right? So even though I mentioned that data converted to information for fulfilling needs, yes, that is correct. But we can use some standard words there rather than using the word needs. I can say that data are converted to information for making decisions, right? For decision making, we convert the data to information. I could use the word decision making directly, but I didn't, want that. That's the reason why I use the word needs. Now take the examples again one by one. So look here. So in this last example, this may be the best one. In this last example, that particular shopkeeper or that shop owner, right, has to make some decisions because he has to predict the next day. So he has to decide whether he purchase more goods, whether he goes to, he has to change the change to other products. So he has to plan his future. That is the decision. So he has to decide it. So he to decide the next day, even the future, he used that information. He used the profit. If he earns profit, then he has a decision. If he is lost, he will have another decision, right? So for decision making, information is important. Data never be helpful. Even in the second example, see that height. So there is a decision making, right? The school administration has to decide whether the A is eligible for basketball or B is eligible for basketball. So they have to decide it. So to make the decision, those data are not useful. So they converted them to information. Right? So don't forget, data are converted to information in order to make decisions. Even you can say for, needs, fulfilling needs, or even getting benefit, that's okay. But as a standard term, it may be the best one for decision making, right? That may be the reason why we don't use we don't keep the data forever. We can keep them, but definitely at one instance, it must be converted to information. Okay, right. Now we got 3 examples. Hope you got some idea, but I'm not going to stop at this point. Maybe I will take 1 or 2 examples later. But before that, let me modify the term data perfectly now, right? Okay. Look here. This is not actually big, so I'm not going to say some different ideas or different answers. Same thing, but little bit, modified or well advanced answer, right? So data are raw materials, so unprocessed things about, right? About many things. Let me name those things. So data, raw materials about, look here, about numbers. Even in the last examples also we use numbers. So data can be numbers, even text. I will take some examples later, right? Your data can be text. It can be sound. Data can be sound too. Even it can be symbols. Symbols. Even images. Data can be images. If it is unprocessed, definitely that image is data. Even the business transactions. Business transactions, the one which we talked at last, right? Having incomes and expenditures, these are some sort of business transactions. So even data can be about people. I will explain, right? About places. So as I told you earlier, data actually not a small thing. It is not restricted in a small circle, within a small circle. It is big, it beyonds everything. So it can be numbers, it can be text, it can be sound, it can be symbols, it can be images, business transactions. It is about places or people, right? But not, they cannot be processed, right? They must be in unprocessed format. And also you should understand that, right? You should understand that the data are meaningful things, right? But if they are processed, definitely it becomes information, right? Have a look at this definition which I have given here. Look here, data are raw materials about numbers, letters, images, sounds, symbols, people, places, business transactions, etc. It can be anything. This is the one which I talked about earlier, right, on the other day. So it can be anything. So that word anything includes such things: numbers, text, symbols, people, places, business transactions, etc. Right? There may be many. Okay. So I can justify how images can be data or how sounds can be data, but not now. Let me take them one by one, right? So I don't want to go in a hurry, right? I will take my own pace. Right, look at the second sentence. They are unprocessed things and don't have any meaning, right? So information has meaning, but data do not. Okay, I will take such example later because this is something different. I will take them later. Right, let's take the information. So what is information? So yesterday we briefly defined that information is processed data. Okay, that is correct. But you know, when we want to obtain an information, definitely the data must be processed in a meaningful way, in a proper way, in an appropriate way. Because even look here, you have students' names and height. So you arrange them in descending order. You didn't add them or you didn't subtract the height because your intention is to find the tallest. That is the information you expect. So in order to get that information, you did a meaningful process. What is it? Arranging the heights in descending order. That is the meaningful process. So always include this phrase in your definition. Information is processed after data are processed. Sorry, information is obtained after the data are processed in a meaningful way or in a proper way, appropriate way. Okay. So I take this example later. Right, look here. So now I hope that you got some idea, right? Step by step, we take examples, and also your ability, your experience, or your knowledge should be gradually increased, right? So in the previous three examples, you know, you have a similarity, right? So we took the data and we process the same data to take information. Even in the first example also we did it. We obtained the data and then we engaged that in a process and we were able to produce information. Even in the second, third also we did it. But now I'm not going to take such thing. I'm not going to take the data and then convert, do the process and receive the information. This is not the chain, right? But I'm going to take some of the informations only, not like a sequence. Have you understood the point which I'm making? So in the previous examples, we took the data and we were able to convert that information. That is okay. But now we will find only some information, right? I don't want to take the data and convert that into information. We will take some, or we will point some thing directly, right? Look here. So let me take a simple idea. Let's take this one. So I can say that Sri Lanka literacy rate, right, is 98 or something. So, right? So I have a statement. The literacy rate of Sri Lanka is 98%. Is it data or information? What about your thought? Is it data or information?
Sir, information.
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 Right.
Information.
So if you think that it is information, so right. So if you think that it is information, definitely it is formed by using data, because information is obtained or information is produced by using the data. So tell me the data which were used to produce this information. If you think that it is information, what were the data used? How did they find this 98.98? What's the method, or what are the data used? It's a simple one, right? A common thing, right? You should know these such things, right? Okay, this is an information because it is meaningful and also it is a process thing. I tell you, right? So you know this literacy rate is calculated after collecting some data and engage them in a process. How to find the literacy rate? First of all, they have to find the total population, right? They need to find the total population of the country. You know, even in Sri Lanka, you know, Sri Lanka has high literacy rate, right? So it is a random number, but it is always high. So even in Sri Lanka, if they want to find literacy rate, first of all, they have to find the total population. You know, people can come your home and get some family details and other things. You know, the term census, right? Annual census is there. So census means taking those details of family members and other things. So they have to find the total population. That is one. After finding the total population, they also have to find the number of literate people, right? The number of literate people. So that is important. So total population, then the people, right? Number of literate people. Right? It must be taken as percentage. So they take the total population and also they find the number of people, literate people, right? And then this, according to this format, right, they find the percentage, right? So if it is calculated, you know, 98% is obtained.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, it can be also a data also.
Which
Because
one?
all the countries, it can be also a data also.
Which one?
Can be
98 point.
also-
Is it?
Yes.
Huh? No. Why?
Yes, because all the countries have literacy percentages. So we can conclude this as a data also.
No, because see here, yes, all the countries have, but here in Sri Lanka, right? In Sri Lanka, so you know, we need to find the literacy rate because for the development, future development of the country, because government, right? Government decides the future based on the literacy rate. If the literacy rate is low, definitely government has to invest a lot in education. So that may be the decision making, right? Decision making for literacy rate. So now here, if it is 98 percentage, right? So that is a process thing, and also that is meaningful because based on this 98 percentage, Sri Lankan government can make some decisions. So if 98, if they receive 98 percentage as literacy rate, you know, it is very high. So now Sri Lankan government may realize that people are good in education, and they may say that it is okay to reduce the investment for education in the next year, right? So it may be okay. I think I don't think that it is important to compare with other countries or taking the other countries into consideration. So it is information. We can't say that it is data. Maybe in some cases data and information can be data in one places, but it may not be appropriate at this point, right? But here the total population should be data, right? You can't say that it is information. Even the number of people who are literate should be Data. These two things are data. You have to gather these two data, right? Then you need to perform this calculation. So these two data are taken and they are engaged in a meaningful process, and then you obtain the 98% as information. So this is information. Right, so you know that data information are always complex, right? So even we can argue whether they are data or whether they are information in some cases, because you know, as I said earlier, in one place it may be information, but in another place it may be data. Maybe at one stage or at one time it can be data, maybe after some time, maybe after some years it can at one point it can be information, but after some time it can be data. So there may be some problems, but it is not important to touch the depth for grade 10, right? But I try to give beyond your mark, beyond your syllabus, but it is not important to touch the depth part, right? So I can wind this with one more example. Listen to me. See, similar to this one, because I need to clarify, right? Let me take one more quickly. So look here. You know, your schools often display some analysis on the walls, on the notice board or somewhere, right? Maybe university entrance, maybe O-level pass percentages, maybe A-levels. So see, one school states that 200 students of that school are eligible for entering the university, right? The school has issued a statement which says that 200 students of that particular school are eligible for entering the university. What about your thought? Is it data or information?
Data.
Sir,
Information.
information.
Information, sir.
Information.
Information.
Right, look, so yes, this is something complex, but if you approach it closely, definitely it can't be taken as information, because you know it may be obtained after processing or something, but you know still it has meaningless, right? It is meaningless because by looking at that number 200, nobody knows or nobody evaluates your school. We can't say that your school is able to produce highest number, or we can't say that this school produces less number, because sometimes 1,000 students sat for the GCAL exam and only 200 students enter to the university. So in this case, you know, this is meaningless, right? So having 200 is not clear. Sometimes the school, 300 students sat for the GCO AL and 200 entered. Now it is good. So without showing the total number of students sat for the exam, you can't exactly say. So, but if a school says that 90% of our students enter to the university, then it is meaningful. It is information. Have you got my point? But showing 200 students as university entrance, that statement doesn't make sense, right? So that's why, you know, even often schools also ignore such statements on newspapers or on other things. Even when a result released, your school would say that 98% pass in mathematics or 100% pass in mathematics. They never say that 200 students pass that mathematics, right? Because, you know, data are meaningless. If they say that 200 students pass the mathematics, definitely that is data meaningless. Okay, so try understanding. We don't have enough time to discuss today, right? So any doubts or questions asked? No, right? Right. Right, so try refer these things Still we are at the very beginning. I cannot give any, or I cannot issue any handouts or notes at this moment, or even in today's class, because we covered a very little part. But these two classes are very meaningful, very important, because these two classes might give some ideas or maybe foundation on data and information, right? So that's it. We can conclude today and meet in another class, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.